Hey, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, I guess, depending on where you're at in the nation.
It's
But
still morning for us.
it's Tuesday. Thank you guys for joining us again. Carrie and I are having such a great time doing these conversations, and we've had some really positive feedback. So check us out on YouTube, subscribe, or leave comments just letting us know, like if there's a particular topic that you guys want us to dive into. Carrie and I love having these kinds of conversations. Um,
Yeah,
and kind of just poking holes and into things and
hopefully making you
interrogating
think.
reality. Yeah,
Yeah.
making you think and just having these high level leadership conversations. They're really impactful for us. So
Yes, I love them. So we're going to talk about lifting our leadership lid so that we can just kind of naturally attract and retain talent in our world. Doesn't matter what industry you're in or what you might be hiring for or who you're trying to attract. But we all know that like who you surround yourself with matters. You've heard that
right.
conversation before. So why do people not why do they not go out there and attract the highest level of talent they could, or maybe any talent? Maybe they just hold themselves back as a solo entrepreneur. Like, what are your initial thoughts on that? I think that's maybe an interesting place to start. What have you seen? What do you notice?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think I've noticed a couple of things. So the first is always like I think of imposter syndrome, that the
Mm-hmm.
reason why we don't start attracting people toward us and building our business is because we just don't, maybe we think that we're just not good enough. Like no one's going
Yeah.
to want to partner with us. We're not smart
Yeah.
enough. We don't know what we're doing. We don't have the systems or the processes built out. I mean, the reality is it's just all these stories that we're telling
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm currently in the process of reading the book Contagious You, which
Oh,
is been out for a little while, but
yeah.
it's the idea that we're all contagious, no
Yep.
matter what energy you're projecting out. If it's
It's
positive,
contagious.
it's or negative, you're attracting people to you already.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we just do this? Why don't we
Yeah.
just like say like, okay, is there just one person? Is there
Yeah.
one person that I can build the trust and the
Mm-hmm.
confidence with and that they'll want to partner with me? And hey,
Yeah.
just be authentic. Just tell them the truth. I'm literally in the process of building this out. It's kind of a startup. I'm really
Yeah.
excited. Here's
Yeah.
the growth past the vision.
Yeah.
And I am telling you, people are attracted to that. They want to be inspired, right, Carrie? People want to be inspired.
Yeah, 100%. We think we're not inspiring, or we think we're not, motivating, or we think we have to. We're basically comparing our own, insides to what we see other people on the outside. But the reality is, what we see people doing isn't always like the reality. We're looking from afar and we're making some major assumptions most of the time. So we try to make these in our mind. We're making these comparisons, like, well, this person's a great leader because they're doing this, or people are, going towards them because they're so inspiring and motivating. And at the end of the day, it might not even be true. And so that's part of the problem, is that we're creating these our own stories.
Right. And I love that you just said that we're comparing ourselves to others because we
Mm-hmm.
naturally do that.
Yeah.
And it's such a bad habit.
Yeah.
We do not need to compare ourselves to others. Here's the reality: we're all at different places and we're all different people. We all have different motivations and desires.
Yeah.
And what other people are doing has nothing to do with us. So let's just focus on what we're good at, what we're doing. And here's the thing: I've said this so many times, but we're each here for a purpose and for a reason. And if we just can step into our greatness and lead with being authentically ourselves, there are people who need to hear your message because
Mm-hmm.
you are the only person who can say it that way.
Yeah.
Right. And people, they want to hear it how you're saying it because it will
Yeah.
resonate with certain people. So don't be
Yeah.
afraid to say what you need to say and articulate it how you would. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with that. Like
Yeah.
just stop comparing
Just
yourself.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just do
I mean,
it.
that's the whole point, is that you're looking at somebody else who has probably very different behavior, personality, style, experience, skills. And then you think, you compare that to yourself, which you don't have that. You're not the same person. So really, it's always like we're comparing apples to oranges. I always say that, but we're not comparing. It's not like we're the same person. So we really can't compare. You really can only compare something that is similar, right? So the reality is there are people that will attract to that person, of course, and their energy and their purpose and their mission and their personality, but there are people that will attract to yours too, because every single person has people like them that will attract them if they put themselves out there. So the problem is we're not putting ourselves out there because we're having too many limiting beliefs, or we're comparing ourselves and then we're holding ourselves back. So, how do you feel? I always say that competence is equaling confidence. And so one of the things that I've told people all the time is that, if you don't pour into yourself and you don't grow yourself and you don't raise your own leadership lid and you don't push yourself to do things that are uncomfortable, or you don't lead yourself the right way, then you're probably not going to feel as confident to go out there and attract other people, or to retain other people, or to lead other people at all. So I think just making some very purposeful steps towards leading yourself and raising your leadership lid is going to lead to you feeling more confident, your self-esteem and your leadership, grows. I mean, even here's the reality. If you just take some time reading some leadership books, having some conversations, getting a coach, whatever you decide to do, the reality is, even if you don't raise your leadership lid, the fact that you're trying to, or that you're those moves or having those conversations changes your confidence levels.
100%.
And most likely lead you into some sort of action. So what are you doing to raise your leadership lid? If you're doing nothing, then you probably aren't confident to move forward in those activities.
Right. I completely agree with that. So what is the first step if somebody has decided, okay, I want to build my team. I want to, take this to the next level, maybe do some agent attraction. What's the first step that they should do, Cari?
I think the first step that you should do is write down a list of the things that you have to offer, the things you've accomplished, the things that you're good at, your strengths. I mean, we don't spend far enough time actually appreciating what we know and what we do, and the strengths that we actually possess as a human being, or as a real estate agent, or as an entrepreneur, or whatever business you might be in. So start there, because oftentimes people will say, well, I don't really have anything to offer. Well, if you have grown your real estate business X-fold in the last how many years, you do have something to offer someone, because you've done it, and there are people who have not done it to that level. So, if you're super tech savvy, I mean, I talk to people all the time, and you do too, Haley. They have some sort of specific thing that they've done really well in the business that has grown their business, or help their clients, or organize themselves, whatever it is. There's something that you have done well because it's been natural to you and you really took it to that next level that other people have not done and do not know how to do. So you have to identify what those things are. So it's going to feel very awkward to sit there and brag on yourself, but that's the first thing that you should do, is actually brag on yourself and be very let your guard down. There's no ego here. You don't have to read it to anybody else. So just brag to yourself on, okay, I have done these things. Look at your numbers. So often, Haley, people don't even know how much they've grown their business in the last 2 years, 5 years, right?
That is so true. Most agents, they just don't even know how many they're closing. They're not following their numbers. So I would recommend, definitely know your numbers. I love that you said, write down what you have to offer, because I think once we actually write it down and we can start vocalizing this, articulating it, we can start talking about it. And that is what attracts people to us. I think it also leads to confidence, as well, because here you are, you're saying, it's like you are giving yourself permission to say I'm really good at this. And here's the reality check. Most of the time, I mean, for the longest time, Cari, that I never thought I was really good at a lot of the things that I am actually good at. I just assumed that everybody else did that stuff too. And you were like, no, absolutely not. No one else does this. And so then I started saying, I am organized. I am confident. I am knowledgeable. I do know how to do X, Y, and Z. And once you start saying it out loud, I am telling you, it opens up opportunities for you that you would have not had otherwise.
Yes.
So I love that you said, write down what you have to offer and own it.
And
Absolutely
own it. Be good
it.
with it. Yeah. I mean, here's the reality is, most people are thinking about all the things they don't do well. there fretting over, I'm not good at this. I don't have this system set up. I'm bad at this. This hasn't worked out. But how often do you write down, here's all the things though that we have accomplished in our business, or I have done, or here's my sales, my track record of sales. I mean, here's how I've grown, my database, or nobody talks about that stuff. It's just like we brush that stuff under the rug like it was just supposed to happen. And then we sit there and dwell on the things that we haven't yet accomplished. So of course, we're not going to be putting a positive energy out, like come partner with me, if we're doing that to ourselves. So we've got to flip the switch in our own mind and energy, which is to focus on what we're really good at. So I always have said, you've got to go find the people who want and need what you have. It's like, we're again comparing, we think everybody wants and needs the same things. Well, no, they don't. Somebody doesn't give a rip about leads, and somebody, that's the only thing that they want. Somebody doesn't care about X, but this somebody else, that's all they care about. And it's because their own strengths and focuses and desires and goals are different from each other. So everybody's going to want and need something.
Right.
Stop trying to be someone you're not and figure out what you already have. Can you make it better? Of course you can. But you already have something that has gotten you to the level of success that you're at today. So you've got to figure out what that is. And then you've got to figure out, well, who would be the people that would find those things valuable? And then you go talk to those people, because those people are going to say, wow, yeah, this is not my strong suit. I would love to partner with you because this is very important to me. And so now you start becoming very pointed in terms of who you're having conversations with. And once you start realizing that there are those group of people out there that actually would want what you have to offer, and that allows you to then have the leverage to maybe make those things better and build upon it. That's the progression of business building. It doesn't all happen at once, right? You've got to surround yourself with some talent to leverage some amount of your workload if you're going to make your business better, because you can't work in it and on it at the same time forever. You've got to create space. So you've got to, like you said at the beginning, go partner with the one person that you were like just feeling very aligned with, you can help, they want and need what you have to offer, and then create a little bit of that space and then go make what you have even better, because then you can continue to build on it. That's how you're going to retain and continue to attract talent. And every single person watching this today has the ability to do it.
Yes, we do. And it doesn't always have to be this perfect blueprint. Like, it's like we always have this idea of like what exactly it needs to look like when we partner with somebody, this blueprint in our mind. Get that out of your mind, because a lot of times these partnerships and this collaboration, they don't always happen exactly how we think that they're going to happen. So be open, because it might start out as a mentorship opportunity. It might start out as a coaching opportunity. It might start out as an ISA, or, just somebody who's an assistant for you, right? And then they blossom and they grow, and then more and more people are attracted to you because maybe this person is providing leverage for you, or they have ideas or ways that they think about things that maybe you didn't think like that. And so that's how, we just need to be open to receiving it, I think. And like you said, just projecting it out there, what we have to offer.
Yeah. So after you make your list of the things that you're good at, or you have achieved, or your strengths, then I think it is, to your point, are being able to then have it somewhere where you read it often, because you've got to put it in your mind. You've got to remember it. You've got to appreciate it. You've got to be grateful for it. And then you've got to create a vision around it. So if this has made me this successful, how could this make me successful to the next level? And in order to get to the next level, usually there has to be a person involved, right? Remember, we don't build a business. We bring people in our world and they build our business. We build a business together. No one builds it alone. So we have to remember that people have to be part of the equation. We don't just keep leveling up our business without anybody else. It's just not possible. You can't scale a hero. So the reality is that you've got to create that vision, and then make a list of, well, then who would the people be? Where might they be in their business sense? Where might they be in their experience level or their productivity, or what type of personality might they have? What kind of strengths would they have that might be complementary? Are there actual specific names of people that once you wrote this down, you're like, oh, I've done a transaction with this person, or I know this person, and they might actually, I remember them saying, whatever the case may be, you've got to start writing down now who that is. And it could be a general, or it could be names. And then you have to ask yourself, based on this, how can I level up the things I'm already good at? And so when the topic of this is kind of lift your leadership lid, the leadership part of this is understanding that you have to change your mindset that we've talked about this whole time. This mindset shift that we've just talked about is leadership, self-leadership. So switching your mindset, being willing to let your guard down and write these things down, being willing to then cast the vision, being into a mindset that you understand that you can do this just like anybody else can, but you've got to get purposeful about it, is raising your leadership lid. The second piece of it would be, well, okay, if I've already done this great, or really well, how could I level that up a little bit? Or what's one thing I could do personally as a leader that would kind of take this to the next level? Because remember, it's just like, take a professional athlete. They probably had a natural inclination to that particular sport. If they were a runner, that was probably something they had a natural inclination to, or their body type was, very conducive to running. And there are some physical attributes to sports. For an example, they didn't go and try to become a great golfer because they weren't good at it. They focused on the fact that they were already a pretty good runner, and they could probably be amazing if they put a lot of time and attention towards what they were already good at. Raising up your strengths is going to be far more lucrative to you than trying to make your weaker spots or the places where you aren't as natural better. You would be much better off finding somebody that could do that for you, because you will never bring up those areas of expertise or those strengths to a level that would be competitive, because they're not your natural. You've got to go to what's naturally already possible and good for you. And then you take that to the next level, because you're probably going to be one of the best in your area in that, if you identify what those are. So that's where I would highly encourage you to then go focus on, like, making that part of you better. We all have natural leadership qualities or things that could lead others, whether we're just maybe influential or maybe a little bit inspirational or motivational. Maybe we're super self-disciplined. That's a great leadership skill that people want to be around. If you lead yourself well, maybe you're phenomenal with time management or systems. These are great leadership skills.
Right.
Which ones are your natural strengths that you're really good at that you could even take to the next level? Because if you took them to the next level, they would attract a lot more people, because it's kind of the extreme, right? If I was around something that was massively organized and process driven like you, it inspires me because I'm not. So your strength in that, because you are then leveling yourself up and making yourself even stronger in that, is going to be far more attractive to me, because I'm like, wow, I could never get to that level because that's not my natural strength in the first place. So exasperate where you're really good, because it will become much more valuable to other people. And so that would be the last thing I would say, is ask yourself that question, figure out what that is. And then what's that one thing that you could focus on to level that up, or to tell people about it more, share your story. If you're really self-disciplined and you lead yourself at a high level, are you out there telling people and showing people how you're doing that? Because if you did, they would be inspired by you, those that aren't naturally that inclined. But you're probably not putting it out there because you don't feel confident in the first place, right?
I think it's that imposter syndrome, it's just like, we're just afraid, or we don't think that we are, or we're comparing ourselves, like we said earlier. We're just fearful that we're going to be rejected. And the reality is that you might be rejected, but the right people will find you. And so I think, if anybody else has any they want to continue this conversation, especially with Cari, because she's an amazing leader, an amazing she just attracts talent because she's putting herself out there. If anybody listening wants to continue this conversation, please reach out to us. I know that Cari and I would be happy to have one-on-one conversation with you. So with that being said, Cari, will let everybody get back to their day, and I just thank you so much for having this conversation, because I think it just needed to be said.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Thanks everybody so much. We'll see you next time, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.